I'm randę 72.
Standing in the heart of the company's conference room, I watched as my son, Leo, and daughter-in-law, Vivian, stared at me in disbelief. The silence was deafening, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Leo's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, and Vivian's face had lost all its color. 6 months ago, my husband, Carl, passed away. He had built Carlton Enterprises from the ground up, and I had been by his side every step of the way. After his funeral, Leo took over as the CEO of the company, and I pretended I hadn't inherited anything. I played the role of the grieving widow, confused by legal terms and grateful to have my capable son handle the complicated business matters. One day, as I was arranging fresh flowers in the living room, I overheard Vivian's voice from the kitchen. "That useless old woman is going to eat up all our money. We should throw her in a nursing home," she said sharply. Leo's voice was hesitant at first, but he eventually agreed. Their words felt like a knife in my heart. I remembered the papers I had signed just days after the funeral, the ones Leo had brought to me with tear-filled eyes, saying they were just formalities for the business. What he didn't know was that Carl had been incredibly clever. I owned 75% of Carlton Enterprises. The next morning, Vivian cornered me at breakfast. She told me they had found some lovely senior communities and that it would be better for me to move there. I pretended to be okay with it, but inside, I was seething. I knew it was time to stop being pushed around. I was sent to a place called Meadowbrook Manor, which was nothing like the lovely place Vivian had described. It was run down, and my room was tiny. I met some wonderful women there, like Ethel and Mrs.
Thompson.
Ethel, a sharp-eyed 75-year-old, had been put there because her family thought she was a safety risk after one fall. Mrs. Thompson's grandson had stopped visiting her, breaking her heart. I started receiving reports from Carl's old attorney, Mr. Harris. Leo had made a series of terrible decisions. He canceled contracts with long-time suppliers to chase cheaper alternatives, laid off experienced workers, and approved a new product line without proper market research. One day, Mr. Harris called to tell me that Leo had terminated the contract with our biggest client, Silverstone Industries, which accounted for nearly 30% of our annual revenue. He said Leo had found a better opportunity with a startup, but the startup was funded by venture capital that was already in trouble. Vivian also started asking Mr. Harris about my personal assets, suspecting I had hidden money. I realized they were getting desperate. One day, Leo and Vivian came to Meadowbrook Manor to ask me about some inconsistencies in the paperwork. They thought there were hidden accounts and assets. I played dumb, but I knew they were grasping at straws. After they left, I called Mr. Harris and told him to accelerate our plans. I decided it was time to take back control. I arranged an emergency shareholders meeting under the pretext of addressing the company's financial crisis. Now, here in the conference room, Mr. Harris opened his briefcase and presented the documents. Mrs. Rhonda Carlton owns 75% of Carlton Enterprises. She has been the majority shareholder since the company's incorporation in 1990, he said calmly. Leo finally found his voice. "Mom, if you own the company, why didn't you say something? Why let me destroy it?" I looked at him and said, "I wanted to see what kind of man you'd become without your father's guidance. I wanted to see if you'd earned the right to run his company. And my assessment is that you've failed completely. In just a few months, you've lost 40% of the company's revenue, laid off good employees, and made decisions based on short-term gains instead of long-term stability. But what disappoints me the most is that you put your own mother in a substandard nursing home and sold my house to cover your mistakes." Vivian straightened in her chair and asked, "What do you want, Rhonda?" I replied firmly, "This is about consequences, Leo. You're fired, effective immediately." Leo shot to his feet, protesting, but I was resolute. I signed the document removing him from all operational roles in the company. I also decided to withdraw the bankruptcy filing and inject capital to stabilize the company. Leo pleaded with me, saying he could learn and do better, but I thought about all the pain he had caused, not just to me but to the employees and their families. I knew he needed to face the consequences of his actions. 6 months later, I'm living in a smaller, cozy house with a garden. Ethel and Mrs. Thompson have moved into the affordable senior housing I bought and renovated downtown. Mrs. Thompson's grandson started visiting her again after she moved to a more respectable place. Leo called me last week. He said he got an entry-level job at a small manufacturing company. He apologized sincerely, saying he finally understood what respect meant and that he deserved to lose everything because of how he had treated me. I told him I was hopeful for him, and we agreed to have dinner someday. He'll need to earn back my trust, but I'm willing to give him a chance. Vivian and Leo got divorced. Without the trust fund and the company position, she lost interest in him. I'm now in charge of Carlton Enterprises, and I've hired a new CEO, Amy, who has worked her way up from the factory floor. She's stabilized the company and won back some of the lost contracts. I've also established a senior center in the old Carlton building where the residents can pursue their hobbies and make new friends. It's amazing to see how many lives have been changed for the better. I've learned that power isn't about controlling others. It's about taking control of your own destiny and using it to make a positive impact. So, I'm curious about you who are listening to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Comment below.